All right, what do we need when we're adding and subtracting fractions? Common denominator, lowest common denominator. So if I have 1/4 plus 2/5, what's my common denominator? 20, right? And how did you find 20? So you took the denominators, so the common denominator, you took both of them. You took 4, you times it by 5, and you got 20. Okay, so we've decided that our denominator has to change to the number 20. So then how do I do that?
You times that one by 5.
Okay, all right. So this one has the factor of 4, so you're going to times it by its missing factor, right, which is the 5. But you have to times it by 5 over 5. What's 5 divided by 5? 1. Does it change the value of it? No, it just changed the look of it. So we're 5 over 20. And then this one, we have the 5, but we're missing the 4, so we got to times it by 4 over 4. Again, that has a value of 1, so we're not changing the value of anything. We're just changing the way it looks. And then what do we do? Just add the numerators. So it's 13 over 20. Can I reduce that? No. Okay, so if you can add and subtract fractions, you can do that with the more complicated stuff with the letters in it, okay? So, same thing here. The denominator on this side is x minus 2. The denominator on this side is x minus 1. What did we do? We just multiplied them together. Now in this case, we actually went ahead and multiplied them. With these ones, I wouldn't multiply it through. I'd leave it in factor form. Does that make sense to everybody? What I mean by factor form? It just means leave it like this and this with the brackets. So you see that the lowest common denominator listed right there, and then you just multiply by the factor that's missing. This one already had the x minus 2 in the bottom, so we have to times top and bottom by the missing one, which is x minus 1, and then vice versa on this side. Pretty easy stuff, right? So it's just fractions. Like, people get all wigged out about this because it's like way too complicated and so many steps. But if you can add fractions or subtract fractions, you can do all of this. Okay, so step 1, factor everything. Step 2, state your NPVs. If you can, simplify within each term. Do you guys know what I mean by within each term? Like, simplify in this one if you can. Simplify in that one if you can. It just makes it a little bit easier when you're finding the LCD, that's all. Find the LCD, super easy, you're just multiplying those denominators together. Multiply each rational expression by the factor needed for the common denominator, and I say this top and bottom, that's the most important part because it's going to be different when we switch to 6.4. Add, subtract, numerator, LCD is the denominator, factor the numerator if you can, simplify if possible. All right, let's go. We can do this. Step 1, what's step 1? Factor everything. So we're going to common factor out of 3. X plus 5. On the bottom, what is that? Difference of squares, so that's going to be x plus 5, x minus 5. Add. What's the top one? Difference of squares again. So that one's going to be 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1. The bottom is a complex trinomial, so I'm going to pop over to my scrap piece of paper to do that. So 2x squared plus 9x minus 5. First step of this, 2 by negative 5, so that's going to be negative 10. What are the factors in negative 10 that add up to a positive 9? 10 and negative 1. So I've got 2x squared plus 10x minus x minus 5. Again, these two have just replaced that one, and they all equal each other. 10x minus x gives me that positive 9x. So I haven't changed the value of it. Look at these front two. What am I going to common factor out? 2x. And I'm left with x plus 5. And then I look at these back two. Take the negative 1 out. X plus 5. So my factors are x plus 5 and 2x minus 1. So I'm going to do that factoring on a scrap piece of paper to keep it out of sometimes the lengthier questions that I'm doing. So I'm going to go over here, and this is going to be x plus 5, 2x minus 1. Okay. So that was step 1, factor everything. What's step 2? NPVs. All right, so the NPVs are, and we're going to go through them one by one. This one's going to be -5. This one's going to be +5. This one's going to be -5. We already have it, so I don't have to write it again. And this one's going to be +1/2. All right, good job, everybody. Okay, so step 3, this one's a new one. We're going to simplify within the term. So I want to stress to you that terms are separated by add and subtract. So if I can simplify within this one, and can I simplify within this one? Yes, can I do that? Is there something I can cancel out just inside this box? Yes. So x plus 5, x plus 5. So we're going to be left with 3 over x minus 5. And then we're adding to that. I'm going to simplify here. I'm going to cancel these out. 2x plus 1 over x plus 5. All right. So by doing that, it makes our LCD a little bit nicer. It's not like 4 terms. It's now only going to be 2 terms. So what is my LCD? Beautiful. So all we're doing is we're taking our 2 denominators and we're multiplying them together, right? That's how we find the LCD. So I'm just making the statement that that's my LCD. I find it helpful. So if I look at this one, which one is it missing? Is it the -5 or the +5? +5. So it's top and bottom. So x plus 5, x plus 5. And this one is missing the -5, so it's both top and bottom. So expressions are going to be both top and bottom. All right, so I've done factors, state the NPVs, simplify, find the LCD. Okay, multiplied by that. Okay, all right, now I got to actually do the multiplying. So I'm going to have 3x plus 15. I'm going to leave the denominator in factored form. I'm not going to multiply the denominator together. Plus, now I got to multiply this. 2 times x is 2x squared. 2 times -5 is -10x plus x minus 5 over, what am I doing here? Leaving it in factored form. Okay, so when we're adding and subtracting fractions, we keep the denominator. So I'm keeping my x plus 5, x minus 5, and I'm going to add together like terms on the top. So I only have this for x squared, and it's a plus, so I'm going to have 2x squared. I have 3x minus 10x plus x. What's that? -6x. And then I have 15 minus 5. +10. Okay, so I've added and subtracted the numerator, and now I can factor the numerator if possible. What am I going to do here? I'm going to take out 2. Yep, take out a 2. So I'm left with x squared minus 3x plus 5 all over x plus 5, x minus 5. I find sometimes people get lazy and they don't write the denominator in on every step. That's going to cost you marks if you do that, because then the lines aren't equivalent to each other. Can I factor this trinomial here? What are the factors of positive 5? That would give us negative 3. Remember that 5 is prime, right? So what are the factors of 5? 5 and 1. That's it. That's all. So it's either going to add to positive 6 or negative 6. So can I factor this one? No. So we have officially simplified. The only thing I'm missing is x cannot equal plus minus 5 and a positive 1/2. So that is where I stop. Yep. I can't hear you, sorry. Do you have to rewrite them again? It's always a good idea to rewrite them. Will you be deducted marks if they're clearly labeled somewhere on the page? No. All right. Easy. Everybody hates these ones. First of all, what's the denominator on the 3? 1. Okay, I'm just going to draw that in there just so I don't forget. Okay, step 1, factor everything. Can I factor anything? No. All right. Okay, here we go. Step 2, NPVs. X cannot equal 0 because it's by itself. Y cannot equal 0 because it's by itself. X squared is just going to be, I don't know if somebody was messing with my thing. I don't really know what's going on here today. This seems so small to see. X squared is just going to go back to the x equals 0, and 1 has no variable in it. So we're done with our MPVs. Everybody good with that? So we've factored everything, we've done our MPVs, now we're going to do our LCD. You can do a CD, a common denominator, or you could do an LCD. So if I were to do a common denominator, I would have xy times x squared times 1. Right? Everybody with me so far here? If I want to do an LCD, how many x's are here in the x squared? 2. This is like saying x times x, right? You guys would agree? So if that factor is already present, if there's 1 here and 1 here, I only write it once. Does that make sense to everybody? So that's going to be x. This one has a y. Now, this one I've written, that matches that one. This one's new, and therefore that x is new as well. So my LCD would be x squared y. So that's my lowest common denominator, but my common denominator would be x cubed y. Both will get you to the exact same answer. You either simplify here or you're going to simplify in the answer when we do that. What do you guys want to do? Do you want to use your common denominator or your lowest common denominator? You guys are crazy. Okay, sounds good. All right, so looking at that first term, is there anything I can simplify in this before I calculate my LCD? Let's try that. Can I simplify? I did my LCDs, but I shouldn't have done them yet because this is going to make it simpler. I'm going to simplify within the term. Can I simplify in that term? What can I cancel out? X. So I'm left with 2 over y. And what can I cancel out in this one? X again, so I'm left with 4 over x. And I have 3 over 1. So what's my LCD now? X, y, and that's my lowest common. There's nothing else I can do there. So that's nice. So it does help if you take the time to actually simplify them through. So what is missing from the denominator to make it the lowest common denominator? X. So times by top and bottom. This one's missing y over y. What's this one missing? Both. All right, so I've got 2x over xy plus 4y over xy plus 3xy over xy. You don't want to simplify here. I've seen people cross it out and then you're right back to this line and you're kind of stuck in a cycle. So now we're just going to add the numerators together. So I have 2x plus 4y plus 3xy all over xy, where x cannot equal 0 and y cannot equal 0. Do you guys want to take a pause and try this one on your own? Sure. Oh, sorry, I think I wrote my whole equation wrong. You're right, this is a minus 3, this is a minus 3. It was just I wrote my equation wrong. Those should all be minuses, you're correct. Okay, do you guys want to try the next one? Yes. Okay, just try factoring it. Step 1, factor everything. And do your NPVs. If you factored everything, do your NPVs. Everybody okay if I show you my factoring? I didn't factor that numerator because it's not a perfect square. So I just left it like that. I mean, you could use the quadratic formula and you're going to get like a radical for an answer or a decimal. That's not going to be helpful here. So I would just leave it as is. So again, if you're uncomfortable with factoring, it's going to hold you a little bit back with this, so we got to practice it. Okay, can I simplify within either term? Can I simplify within this term? No. Can I simplify within this term? No. No y's cancel out, no 2's, right? Like that's a set and that's a set. So they can't cancel each other. Okay, good. So now let's do our LCD. So in this case, we have y plus 2 in both of them. So you only have to write it once if you're going to use an LCD. Okay, so if you've used it both, what's missing? Y minus 2. Okay? If you did this as a common denominator, you would have y plus 2, y plus 2, y minus 2. Gets a little bit cumbersome when you have y cubes in there. It will all cancel out in the end, but it's going to be confusing. Okay, so what's missing on this one is my y minus 2. This one has both, right? Like this one's already done. So I've got y squared minus 20 over y plus 2, y minus 2, plus, and now I'm going to multiply these together, right? So y times y is y squared. I'm going to have a negative 4y plus 4 over y plus 2, y minus 2. Okay, what's the next step? You're adding fractions at this point. You've got the common denominator. What do? We just add the numerators together, right? Easy peasy. So I've got 2y squared, so it's going to be 2y squared. I only have the minus 4y, and then I have negative 20 and positive 4, so that's going to be a negative 16 over y plus 2, y minus 2. What do I do now? We can common factor something out and see if, like, we want to see if we can simplify it even more once we get it together. So we're going to take out that 2, y squared minus 2y minus 8. This is exciting. Can I factor this? Super exciting. So this one factored is going to be y minus 4, y plus 2 over y plus 2, y minus 2. What can I cancel out here? Y plus 2. So 2 times y minus 4 over y minus 2, where y cannot equal plus or minus 2. So if you were to stop here, you'd lose a full mark because you haven't finished it. Do you get what I mean? Get what I'm saying here? Because you haven't simplified it to its lowest state. It's kind of like saying, I marked your tests, and it's like you guys saying tan of the angle is equal to negative 6 over 12. Should you have left it at negative 6 over 12? No, because negative 6 over 12 is negative 1/2, right? Like, you got to finish it. Okay, good job, everybody. But you can see how there's lots of steps in it, and you can see how they're kind of repeat steps, so it's easy to get confused. Yeah?
At the top, how can we multiply by y minus 2 instead of y plus 2?
Because what's our common denominator? Y plus 2, y minus 2. Which factor did this one have? Right, so we had to multiply by the thing that was missing. Yeah. And again, guys, these are your notes. So you're going to make notes, you're going to scribble on them, you're going to make things, make notations that make sense to you, right? Draw arrows. I'm a big fan of arrows. It's never good when I give you the whole page to do a question. Does this look daunting to you? A little bit. Fractions inside of fractions always are kind of vomit-inducing. So this is always my recommendation, and this is how I deal with it. 1 plus 1 over x divided by x minus 1 over x. Because these are the exact same thing. And then all of a sudden I can treat them, and notice I put brackets around them because they were in a fraction. It's implied that you have to deal with the numerator and the denominator before you deal with the division. So I have to put brackets around them. So I have to deal with the brackets first, order of operations, because it's implied on a fraction. You got to do what's on the top, do what's on the bottom, and then do the division. Okay, let's look at this one. What's the denominator on that 1 there? 1. Okay. Do I need to factor anything? No, it's really already factored. So now I need to do my NPVs. So what's the NPV? 0. So x cannot equal 0. Brilliant. We're just going to work the numerator for a moment here. Is everybody okay with that? We're just going to work on the numerator side for a moment. All right. So what's the LCD of the numerator? 1x, right? Do I need to have the 1 there? No, because anything times by 1 is itself. So the LCD on this side is x. So this term has it, this term doesn't. So we're going to times this side by x over x. So I get x over x plus 1 over x. You don't want to simplify this term. We would do that before we did our LCD. So now I'm going to combine the numerator. So I have x plus 1 over x. Okay, I've worked the numerator. Good job, everybody. Okay, let's work the denominator. What is the denominator on the x? 1. Okay. So there's nothing to factor here. What is the non-permissible value? 0. So x can equal 0. I already have it written, so I don't need to write it again. What's the LCD for this side, for this denominator? Also x. So my LCD for this side was also x. So this one has the x. This one doesn't have the x on the bottom. I know it's on the top, but really we're just worrying about denominator. So this one's missing it. So I have to time this one by x over x. So I'm going to put my divide symbol in here. So I'm left with x squared over x minus 1 over x. I'm going to combine them. I'm going to have x squared minus 1 over x. All right, this is looking good. This is looking good. Anybody see something we can do? Anybody? Thoughts, feelings? Multiply by the reciprocal, for sure. We're never going to divide, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. But before I do that, there's something I see that needs to be done. That difference of squares is sitting there, right? And we want everything in factored form. So I need to factor that. So I have my x plus 1 on this side over x, divide it by x plus 1, x minus 1 over x. Now this is a division question. So we're going to flip it, multiply, keep the first one where it is, multiply this. Okay, what just happened? I flipped it, what did I get? You got your new denominator. So if I have a new denominator, what do I need to go back and do? NPVs, denominator. So I got my new denominator, so what are my new NPVs? -1, +1. So I'm just going to go back up to the list. -1, +1. All right. So I have an x plus 1 times x over x times x plus 1, x minus 1. And what can I cancel out? X and x plus 1. Okay, notice I've canceled out everything on the numerator. What does that mean? Is there a 0 up there? What is it? A 1. Because really when we cancel it out, it's really giving it a value of 1. X divided by x has a value of 1. X plus 1 divided by x plus 1 still has a value of 1. So there has to be a 1 up here. So 1 over x minus 1, where x cannot equal 0 plus minus 1. There will be one of these on your test, these fractions within fractions. Okay? So you need to know how to handle them. Yeah. Oh dear. We're done. That wasn't too terrible, but it does require you to take your time.